All right, so I know that we've all accomplished giving great effort on the warm-up, correct? So if we look at this one, first thing we're going to do is mark what's given. Did everybody mark E is congruent to C? We look on our picture. I put a little angle mark here. Angle mark here. That's given. Now, what else did it tell us is true? B is the midpoint of AD. That is going to tell us two angles equal or two sides equal. Two sides, that is correct. So we'll have to figure that out in a second. So I got my given step. What fine, upstanding student would like to tell me what they did next? Yes, ma'am. I like it. AB, congruent to BD, definition of midpoint. Everybody see where that would come from? Now that we got to find something else. I should mark this, shouldn't I? Help us out there so we can see that's true. Now we don't have enough information yet, right? Because we always have to have 3 and 3 for this to work. What else do we know is true up here? Yes, ma'am? Okay, now let's pause for a second because there is a good chance that some of you may have just wanted to say angle E. Why can I not, I'm sorry, B is what I meant to say, sorry. Why can I not just say angle B here? Because there's more than one angle there, so you got to use the 3 letters. So this angle right here, ABE, would be congruent to angle CBD, because why? Vertical angles are congruent. Yes, ma'am.
Would it matter like if you did the vertical angles first and then definition of midpoint?
Nope, that's a good question. Now, as everybody sees, sometimes it will matter in some proofs, but in this case, since they don't have anything to do with each other, it doesn't matter which one's first and which one's second. Yeah, so if this was up there and that was down there, it would not matter. Just as long as I have them both in there. All right, so do we have enough information to say the triangles are congruent? Yep, what do we have? Yep, well, let's do this. Which way first? Angle, angle, side, right? Is what we have in both of them. Oh, I didn't mark this one, sorry. Angle, angle, side. So no other reason it's going to be angle, angle, side. Now on this one, they didn't tell you, oh, they did up there, sorry. So what triangle AEB is congruent to triangle DCB? And we have proven that the two triangles are congruent. All right, so like we just said there, let's fill in a few blanks now. To prove two triangles are congruent, we need 3 good congruent parts, 3 pairs in each. The 4 ways to prove triangles are congruent. Side, side, side. Side, angle, side. Angle, side, angle. Angle, angle, side. That's our 4, right? Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to add in the last part, or last new thing we have to learn. Hopefully this will make sense. But what we're going to do today is say that once I know the triangles are congruent, so in other words, if I can say that this triangle is congruent to that one, would it make sense I can say all the other parts are congruent? Because everything has to be congruent, right? So when you guys look at this first triangle, what way can we say that triangle ACB is congruent to ECD? Which one of the 4? Side, angle, side. Now they don't have vertical mark, do they? But you would know these are congruent. So you guys agree that this would be side, angle, side first. Now we're going to do this first. So here is what we knew was congruent. They told you AC was congruent to CE, right? They told us that BC was congruent to CD. And then we showed that angle ACB was congruent to angle DCE by vertical, right? So you guys see how that's 3 pairs? We've shown they're congruent. What other parts are there, though, that we didn't mark yet? So what I mean by that is, what would A be equal to now? E, right? So we can put the other three things. We can put angle E is congruent to angle A. Now, why can't I just use A and E here? I don't have to use three letters. That's the only angle there. Okay, what would angle B be equal to? To angle D. And then I could also say that AB is congruent to DE. So the idea of this lesson is this. Once we show that two triangles are congruent by these three pairs, we can now say that all of their corresponding parts are congruent. These three things are also true. Everybody with me on that? Okay, so like for instance, let's look at the next one they've got. This one here. All right, so pause for a second. The only things that I know are equal right now at this moment. Do you guys agree that I know that AB is congruent to AC? That's given, right? I also know that BX is congruent to XC. You guys with me on that? So that's given to me. Now, from the picture, I know one other thing. What else do we know? AX is congruent to AX, right? So now, since I know that, can I say that these two triangles are congruent? Yes. By which way? Side, side, side. Now that I know the triangles are congruent, I can say angle B is congruent to what? Angle C. Now, all my other angles, I'm going to have to use three letters because there's more than one angle there. Okay, this angle right here, angle BXA is congruent to what? AXC, or if you put CXA, that'd be okay. But X has to be in the middle because it's the what? Oh, not the midpoint, but the vertex of each angle. And then I could say angle XAC. Now I'm talking about this angle up there. Is congruent to angle BAX. So these are the other corresponding parts. Everybody with me so far? So here's what we're basically going to do today. All right. We're going to use this at the very bottom. But we're going to use this right here, this CPCTC. Here's what this stands for. The first C is corresponding. So corresponding means parts are in the same place. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So the corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Everybody with me so far? All right, we're going to do one more together. So if you guys turn the page, look at number 5. Now here's what I want you to do here. On number 5, what are we trying to prove? Okay, it says prove angle R is congruent to what? Is it A? Okay, so pause for just a second. So what I want you guys to understand is the way we're going to do this is to say that's true, we are going to need to show that the two triangles are congruent. So you're still going to show triangles are congruent first. Then I can say another part is congruent. All right. So on this one, we are given that Y is the midpoint of RA. So here's my shape. So I'm saying that Y right here is the midpoint of RA. And it's telling me that NA is congruent to NR. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that because that's given, right? And we know that's the midpoint. So we got our given and given. All right, so if Y is the midpoint, what two sides does that tell me are congruent? RY and YA, right? So let's write that down. That's definition of midpoint, right? I'm going to mark that so I can remember that I did that. And then what's the other thing I can say from the picture? NY is congruent to NY. All right, so let's pause for a second. So do we have enough information to say the two triangles are congruent? By side, 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 right? Now, this one didn't give you a triangle congruent statement, did it? So you have to make your own. So what's important is you can name this one however you wanted to. Okay, I'm going to say triangle RNY. But that means when I name this one RNY, I got to name the other one in that same order. So what would R match up with? A. So I'd go ANY. And my reason is side, 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 right? So basically, that's exactly what we did on the last two lessons, right? The only thing that's different is what were we trying to prove this time? R was congruent to A. That wasn't one of the things we stated yet, was it? But since we said the triangles are congruent, that lets us say that R and A have to be congruent because why? Yep. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So the good news about this practice is you're still doing the same exact thing. You're just adding a step in is really all you're doing from a practical standpoint. Now you guys do 6 and 7.